August 15, 1945. World War II comes to an end. Nations celebrate, soldiers return home, and the world tries to heal from its deepest wounds. But in the shadows of Lubang Island, one man continues to fight. Hiroo Onoda, a Japanese intelligence officer, trained to never surrender, survives alone in the jungle for 29 years. To understand Hiroo Onoda, we have to understand the world he came from. He was born in 1922 in Kainan, Japan, into a culture built on honor, discipline, and duty to the emperor. The concept of surrender was not just shameful, it was unthinkable. By 1944, Japan was losing ground fast in the Pacific. The Imperial Army began relying on small, specialized units trained in guerrilla warfare, soldiers who could operate behind enemy lines indefinitely. Onoda was selected for this elite training. And his final mission? Lubang Island. Lubang Island was small, but strategically located. If the Allies took it, they'd have a clear path toward Japan's heart. Onoda's mission was to prevent that, destroy piers, sabotage airstrips, and gather intelligence. Before departing, his commander gave him strict orders. You must not surrender. You may have to hold out for a few years. Whatever happens, we will return for you. Onoda landed in December 1944 with a small team. By February, American forces invaded. Most Japanese troops were killed or captured. But Onoda and 3 others disappeared into the jungle. For the first year, they lived like ghosts, moving at night, hiding during the day. They believed Japan would counterattack any day. They kept their rifles cleaned, uniforms patched, and morale high, despite the silence. In late 1945, leaflets were dropped by the Allies. The war is over. Come out peacefully. But to Onoda and his men, it looked like a trap. Every soldier learns not to trust enemy propaganda. We thought it was fake. Over the years, they clashed with local villagers, stole rice, killed livestock. They left messages claiming they were still fighting for Japan. To them, they were soldiers. To the islanders, they were ghosts of a war no one wanted. In 1954, Shimada was killed in a shootout. Onoda buried him with full honors. In 1950, another soldier had surrendered after finding a newspaper confirming the war had ended, but Onoda refused to believe him. Now, Onoda was down to just one companion, Kinshichi Kozuka. Together, they survived for 20 more years. The world moved forward. Japan rebuilt. Global powers shifted. But in Lubang's dense jungles, Onoda remained frozen in time. He believed Japan had been pushed underground. That resistance was continuing, that the mission was still alive. In reality, hundreds of missions were launched to find him, including search parties with family members and recorded pleas. But Onoda dismissed them all. The enemy was clever, he thought. The war had simply changed shape. In 1972, Onoda and Kozuka were seen burning rice fields. Philippine police were sent in. In the firefight, Kozuka was killed. Onoda escaped once again, alone. I have no one left, but I must complete my orders. Enter Norio Suzuki, a 24-year-old college dropout. He had a list of 3 things he wanted to find: Lieutenant Onoda, a panda, and the abominable snowman. 3 days into his trek in Lubang, he found Onoda. The meeting was surreal. Onoda was cautious, armed, but Norio spoke to him as a fellow countryman and promised to return. The Japanese government located Onoda's former commander, now a civilian bookseller. He agreed to fly to Lubang and personally relieve Onoda of his duty. Onoda emerged from the jungle, cleaned his boots, dressed in full uniform. He stood at attention as the order was read. Then, silently, he handed over his rifle, ammunition, sword, and saluted. Onoda returned home to a Japan he no longer recognized. Skyscrapers, Western influence, a pacifist constitution. The empire was gone. Haunted by the past and unable to adjust, Onoda moved to Brazil. He worked on a ranch, lived quietly. But in time, he returned to Japan and opened a survival school, teaching youth how to live with grit and purpose. Hiroo Onoda passed away in 2014 at 91 years old. Some saw him as a hero. Others saw him as a tragic relic of blind loyalty. But everyone agreed. His story was one of the most extraordinary in modern history. He wasn't the last to surrender, but he may be the last to truly never give up. If you were in Onoda's shoes, would you have surrendered or stayed loyal to the end?